Good morning. Apparently you guys are going to be getting videos of me in my PJs sitting on right here on this spot on the couch that I sit every morning when I read and I start to create. Let me just show you real quick. Kids, who's this? I sometimes I wait to share thoughts with you guys and then I don't end up sharing the thought. I'm sure you can relate, and so I told myself I'm just going to start sharing them when inspiration strikes, assuming it's not out of my time of like business. And so I really do my best to not, after a certain time in the evening, come on and stuff like that. But I want to talk about something that might help you distinguish between when you're in a creative mode versus when you're in a force mode. Because I think sometimes we can be in creativity and then we hit a lull and then we think that we're forcing. And so we just like put our hands up and we're like, this is too hard, I'm forcing this. And I think that there's some tactile differences and some very obvious differences. I can paint my thoughts for you that I've been noticing for myself that have helped me like finish things, continue to work on things and not just pin every fucking thing that hi Christina, not just pin every creative project, because that was something that I had a challenge with for a really long time. Was I'd have all these creative ideas, creative being whatever the hell it is. It could be content, it could be for art pieces. Christina, I think you're gonna like this. So Christina was a past client of mine, and Christina is an artist as well, so I'm curious what you have to add. So any creative project, this would happen with me, and it would be for business or for my life or just for organizing my closet, anything. And I would just never finish them. So there was no longevity in my work, and there was no consistency in my work. And I just had this beautiful breakthrough right now about how, excuse my nose, about how I can paint the picture. And so force, the main thing to distinguish I see between force and creativity, and remember, creativity is anything you're creating. Could be art. I'm going to use art as an example, but you'll get the picture. As we're creating something, you guys, I'm sure, let me know if you've experienced this. You get to a point where you hit a lull and you hit like a plateau and you just like, you've stalled. And it can feel frustrating. And a lot of times that's where we stop, and that's where we might not finish it. And so for me, I know when I'm in creative mode for something, I normally hit a stall around the middle, around when I'm like in the middle. I'll create a lot of momentum in the beginning and then I'll stall in the middle. And then if I choose to finish it, there'll be momentum created at the end. And normally in this stall, whatever we're creating looks like super rigid, it looks super unclear, whether that's a painting or a website. And so you'll hit this lull. And this is where I think it's really good to distinguish, because sometimes we're going to create things and we'll hit a lull and we'll find out that we're forcing this thing because of a should, or because of the need to complete it because of some other reason. And to me, that's where it's forced. When we're creating and we hit that moment of lull, and then we just we're so frustrated because we want it done, and we're so frustrated because we think we need to have it done. Versus when we hit a lull in creativity, and that the frustration will come. And I think this is where a lot of people get confused and then they give up. In my experience, the frustration will come, and sometimes it's frustration out of curiosity. It's frustration because you see the potential of this thing that's in front of you, and you're stuck on how to move it forward. It's a creative frustration. You know there's something good here. You don't feel like you have to finish it right now, although time might be a thing in your mind, but it's not out of a forcing it to be done. It's a frustration out of like, I know that there's something good here. And so that kind of frustration might not mean that you're forcing it. That might mean that it's just time. Like for me, sometimes it's just about shifting for a second. I'm still being creative. I'm still in creativity. I'm not doing something out of force. It's just about shifting. And so this morning I was creating something and I was trying to like figure it out in my mind. And then I decided to look outside of myself for some inspiration. And then like fucking 2 seconds after I decided to do that, the inspiration, it striked. And my human design helped me out a lot with that. But the message that I want to get through that came through so clear to me is both in force and creativity, both things can happen when we are creating something. And when we find that we're forcing it, when we feel like it needs to be done now, when we feel like we should be doing it, when that frustration happens, the should frustration, maybe it's time to just walk away from that for a second. Or maybe you don't even want to be doing the thing and you can give it up. And when the frustration is a frustration out of like curiosity of what this thing could be, there's a frustration with a little different energy behind it. Maybe it's just time to shift your focus away from that for just a second without thinking that you have to give it up or that it's not worth it or that you're forcing it, which is the biggest mistake that I've made. And the biggest mistake that I see is people get to, they think when they are being creative, it should just flow beginning to end. They should just drop in and it should just come out. And I rarely see my or others' creativity being just a straight, oh, I just sat down for 5 hours and I made this masterpiece. No, there's always this point of frustration. And so it's up to us. Yeah, Christina, you get what I'm saying? It came in so clear for me this morning, the difference, because I've always known there's been that part of frustration and creativity. And I remember one time I was painting in the garage and I hit that point and Adam came out and he could see that I was just flustered. And he's like, what's wrong? And I said to him, I said whatever I said. And I was like, I'm just frustrated. It's just part of it. And he's like, it's part of it. And he's just now learning his creative side. So he doesn't have experience in this. I was like, yeah, it's just part of it. Like, it's going to end. I'm just in the frustrated part right now. And he didn't understand what I was saying. But to put it like this, because sometimes we start things that we don't actually want to start. But I think a lot of times we start things that we do and we walk away because we feel frustrated. And I'm just here to remind myself and remind you that if that frustration comes out of curiosity and you can feel the frustration in your heart versus your mind, maybe it's just time to shift focus for a second and allow inspiration to strike and then go back. It's like looking for your keys or trying to remember a name and then stopping to try to think about it. And then you remember the name like 2 seconds later. Hank said, hi Hank, good morning. I find sometimes I need to create 5 different things at once, and sometimes they are interrelated to another, so you can't go from A to Z on one thing at a time. Perhaps A to D needs to happen on 5 different things before the next thing will flow. Yeah, I agree. And I don't think that there's any shame in having multiple creations at a time, because I hear that from myself and from people too, and you're totally right. Even when it comes to writing content, like I have this sales accelerator that I'm now launching, and I have so many ideas, and I'm creating like a landing page and creating all this content for it. And sometimes I'll go do something that has nothing to do with it, like redecorate my office or read a book I'm interested in, and then it lights up my creativity for the idea that I had already started. So that's a really good distinction. Hank, do you agree that you hit a point of frustration? Like you hit a point of frustration? I'm curious, Christina, too. Where do you guys, have you noticed a pattern of where you're hitting that point of frustration? Like mine is in the middle. Popcorn creations. Fun and delicious. Yeah, sometimes they just take a long time. I have a painting in the garage. I put gold flake on it. There's a Buddha head and this flower that I've been drawing my whole life. And it's been sitting in there for over a year because we made a creative spot in the garage, and then we just like the garage filled with stuff. And like, I know I'm going to finish it. I know it's going to be great. And I'm not looking at it being like, I'm not looking at it with negative self-talk. Like, this should have been done. You don't finish tasks. As soon as the flow stops, I move on to where it's flowing. So you follow your inner guidance, which really, that's it. And that doesn't mean you've dropped out of creativity. It quite literally means you're connected to it. Different every time, off in the middle. Yeah. The forcing, it is what gets frustrating, like running into a wall. Then from access, I ask, what's right about this that I am not getting? I love that. Probably the fact that it's time to go somewhere else. The forcing is so frustrating. And now that I'm like sitting here thinking about it, it's so in the mind. The forcing is like trying to figure it out up here. Yes, but before I got to that, I would try to force it and get nowhere. Oh, consciously try to force it. Ugh, feels like yuck. I was just thinking about the equinox today. Well, the equinox isn't today, but I was thinking about the, what the hell was I going to say? Oh, I was thinking about the equinox and a cycle that had ended for me this past year. And one of them is like, I would bring myself to this state of, I'm so good at emotionally managing. I teach it. I've been teaching it for years. I'm awesome at it. That I would bring myself, I would calibrate myself to this point of like excitement and bliss and creativity and like go-getter vibes. And I would do that to force myself into action, thinking that that's what I needed to do to get shit done. As I would just manage myself way up here and just be like excited and all of these things all day long. Come to find that that was actually a way of me forcing, and it was productive, but I would burn out because I wasn't listening to other parts of my body. And so now with human design practice and just practicing different things in my business, I've come to like, sometimes the doing is in the not doing, and then you can get more done with less. And now, Hank, you're a fucking beast. You get so much done. I'd be curious what your human design is. You should send me your birth info. That's what I did, the excited burnout. Yeah, I feel like there's so many mentors and coaches. Ooh, thanks for the hearts, Mary. Good morning. There's so many mentors and coaches that are activating, which I think is great, because I think a lot of us can learn how to take different types of action, but there's so many things on social media that are activating that I thought I had to be activated all the time. But the activation, for me, the activation made me go for it. It made me go for it versus making me know that I already had it, which is the energetic difference that made all the difference for me. Now, are there times where there could be resistance or heaviness that do need to be worked through? I think so. I think that's just like shadow work, or the golden shadow, which I've been loving thinking about lately. Let me think about time. Yeah, so I think a lot of people with creativity, for Adam, let me use Adam as an example, and I think he'd be open about this. He doesn't, obviously I think that all human beings are innately creative. I think that that's just something, we were created, right? So we are creative. And I do think some people have more talent, but I do think that skill can be created, and I think that talent can be found. And Adam doesn't, he wouldn't have defined himself as creative, although he's like, he is. And I know for him, there's a narrative. If he starts a creative project, there's a narrative of all of stories like not good enough, not he doesn't know enough, he's not an expert in this field, or it's not as good. There's comparison there, and that's all based off of events that had happened to him. And so I think sometimes, actually, maybe, I think that deeper work gets to be done when we find patterns. And so for somebody like Adam, who consistently doesn't finish creative projects of a certain type, let's say, there would be some deeper work to be done there. But if it happens once or twice, I don't know if that's necessary. What do you think? Sometimes blocks happen from projections, expectations, definitions, and conclusions from people that know about what we are working on that are not an energetic contribution. Like people around. Oh, fuck yeah. Oh my gosh. Sometimes, if that's what you mean, people around. I'm one of those people. Like, I either want to be alone or want to be in a space filled with people and not be bothered. That are not an energetic. People that know about what we're working on. Oh. Like people that are in our same worldview. Hence the access saying, just for me, just for fun, never tell anyone. I love that. Yeah, I used to tell people everything that I was up to because I thought it was a way to hold myself accountable, and I think that works for some people. Not for me though, because then I've been learning just telling, for some people, just telling others the things that you're working on gives you enough of a dopamine rush that you feel like it's completed and don't actually feel the need to do it. And that was happening with me. I was like, ooh, I'm writing a book. And everybody's so excited about writing a book. Or, ooh, I'm starting this thing. And everybody's so excited about me starting this thing. And then I feel like I have completed it. And then I don't continue to take action. And I love secrets. Like, I'm a sucker for some secrets. And in my past life, that got me into some shit. But now I like to use secrets like around that, creativity things, like not telling everybody everything that I'm up to and then just blopping them with something cool. And I love taking my love for secrets and like making surprises and stuff like that. It is important for me to talk things out though, so I will have a couple of people, which I think you said. Christina, if you're not following Hank, I think that you'd enjoy him. He's a local. He calls himself the Sonic Shaman, among other things. I would consider him definitely somebody that I trust if you're into what he's talking about. And he's always online. He's so good at showing up. Okay. Hence the saying, anything you are doing before you share it, ask if it will be a contribution or not. That's really good. Because sometimes we want to share just to share it, just to like say it, but only tell people that will add to your project. As long as you don't care about what people think about you, you can share anything. I'm a lot more guarded before speaking about things now. Like it's my baby, I can't just share it yet. Yeah. So Hank, as long as you don't care about what people think about you. I was just talking to one of my mentors today, and I'm in a human design mastermind, and I've hit this fuck it mode in this launch. And the fuck it mode is so important because the fuck it mode is not caring what other people think. And you can share what you want, and you can share what feels exciting. And I note it because I've hit the fuck it mode before. And I think that a lot of people want to be in that fucking mode, sort of just like it's almost like rebellious, I don't give a fuck, you know? And when I've hit it before, I was explaining this to Taylor, my human design lady. When I've hit the fucking mode before, it wasn't actually a fucking mode like it is right now. Like right now, I don't care. Right now, I've been told to pull the colors out of my branding, and then I'm too colorful, and then I'm not crisp enough or not luxurious enough looking, or all of these things. I don't give a fuck. I'm going to use all the colors, and it's going to look good because I love it. And among the things I'm writing about and all of that, right now, I don't feel the need to tell people that I don't give a fuck. Like I just don't. Versus before, my content and my live videos and my energy, that I don't give a fuck, was sort of aggressive. And I think it was more egotistical because we see people doing that online and it's attractive. And of course, I think it's all just phases. Like Mary's more guarded before, guarded. She's a lot more guarded before speaking about things now. And I knew Mary a year or 2 years ago. They would just talk about everything because we're excited about it. And I think that just comes when we start to get into leadership. I think we're excited about it. Or when we start to learn things, I think we're excited about it. And that's all we want to talk about. And then we find that some of those things are ineffective. I'm going to let Kinsey out. She's being a good girl. Yeah, I like this too. So did you guys see my new little buddy in the kitchen in the background? I got him recently. He looks like he's sniffing the stove. All right, well, that went longer than I thought. Any other good thoughts? I had a little headache this morning. It's really windy over here, but I think it's going away. Yeah, I've been loving coming out in the morning, so I think you guys are going to see a lot of me in my PJs. Okay, well, I'll just talk to you guys soon. I love you guys. I was supposed to do it for anybody who create. The being guarded does two things for me. It's a fuck it mode for me, definitely. Because I don't need or desire or want other opinions because I'm going to do it anyways. Yeah, that was a thing. Like sharing out of excitement and then people giving their fucking opinions really dropped me out. It really made me question. And I rarely go on social media to look for inspiration at other leaders because I'll fall into comparison, or I'll fall into like shoulds. Good time you're wrapping it anyways. I have to run those starting the stream in 4 minutes. Good luck, Hank. Okay, loves. I'll talk to you guys later. That's it. Good morning and good night.